meeting. Does that answer anything?
Yeah, I just wondered if you went back and looked at any of his footage or any of that.
No, it's a completely different world. If I saw the news footage and didn't see the picture, would I be disappointed or would I be happy? Or, I leave it alone. I think I saw John the Baptist's face.
I have a question for Mr. Smith. So I love the ending, the trumpets and all.
I'm sorry, you're talking.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Yeah. Mr. Smith. Yeah.
Hi. Mr. Smith is my father. And he's dead, so thanks for bringing him up. I'm sorry, what was it?
So I love the ending, and I'm just wondering, what made you want to do this film? How did it get started? What was the kind of genesis?
Like I said, I mean, I guess the true genesis is me seeing Parks in From Dusk Till Dawn, because he stayed with me. Like, when you work with, my job is to work with actors, so I love performance. That's why I do what I do. I just love watching people act. I think it's amazing. Somebody can take something on print, spit it out, make it seem like they're just saying it extemporaneously. I'm fucking a whore for actors. I love to just watch them act and shit. So this dude, when you see someone give a performance that's so off the beaten path and he's making choices that no other actor you've ever met is making, they stick in your head. He stuck in my head for a long, long time, and I was like, I make movies about dudes running around with their hands down their pants going, nooch, so there's no real place for an actor of Michael's caliber in my movie, unless it was like, here's Silent Bob's dad, and he's like, hello. You're like, that's why Bob is silent. So I didn't really make grown-up pictures, This one, aside from me seeing Parks and From Dusk Till Dawn, I guess it's about 12 years later, my friend Malcolm Ingram made a movie called Small Town Gay Bar, which played up here at the festival. And it was about, exactly the title didn't hide anything. It was about a small town gay bar in Meridian, Mississippi and whatnot, and how difficult it was to just be yourself in a community where nobody fucking wants you. And they have this bar and that's their whole fucking social outlet. They live in their houses and they come to this bar and unwind, and it's there, they create a family and shit. So anyway, in the documentary, Malcolm sat down with Phelps, and he used about 10 minutes in his doc, and after I watched the doc, I was like, I can't believe you sat down with that guy. What was it like? And he was like, it was fucking scary. And I said, really? He's going, yeah, because he talks like your grandfather, but he thinks like Hitler. And I was just like, wait, is there more footage? He goes, yeah, I sat down with him for an hour and 10 minutes. I think it's the longest anyone has talked to him for a while, because Phelps is getting old and stuff like that. He doesn't really, he didn't come out to the protests, he kind of stays home more. So I was like, let me see the footage, and he gave me the DVD, and I watched it, and it was hands down the most terrifying thing I ever saw, because it was just like Malcolm said, so calm, so serene, almost sounds logical, but the shit that comes out of his mouth is hate and bile and fucking just, it's almost a performance. You're like, no human being could be this evil. It's like, he's like the fucking, Darth Vader and Voldemort had a butt baby. So when I saw, I live in I work in the movie business, so it's a very gay world that I live in. My brother's gay, Malcolm's gay. I got a lot of gay in my world. I'm one cock in the mouth shy of being gay myself. So for me, when I watch that interview, I'm like, oh, this is the worst. Like this guy, like a sentiment like that, whether Phelps means it or not, whether they are truly scam artists, as some people say, or whether they're true believers. I just felt like somebody ought to take a shot at this. Like somebody ought to kind of make a movie about this guy. He's terrifying. And at the same time, maybe cut the legs out from under a fucking hate talker like this. So I started thinking about it, and I told Malcolm, I was like, you should write it. He was like, no way. And I was like, all right, I'll write it. And I started writing. I wrote it over the course of 3 days, and I would write a bunch of pages, and then I'd send them to Malcolm. And Malcolm's like, I dare you to keep going. And I was like, all right. This whole movie was written on a dare, and I'm sure a lot of critics feel that. So I'd write, and I'd send more to him, and he's like, this is awesome. This is different. Where's Jay and Silent Bob? I was like, they ain't coming in this one. And then at the end, the last sequence, what you see in the movie here, the trumpets and blah, 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 and it sounds like the end of the world, and then of course we see it's not. In the original draft of the script, I got to the point where they all come outside, and Cooper is facing down John Goodman's ATF character. And it happens as you see it here, but in the first draft, in the draft that I sent to Malcolm, I'd hit this point where I was just like, I'm here, now I gotta figure out what happens next. And we built. And he's like, what are you gonna do? And I was like, I don't know, where do you go from here, man? Maybe the rapture. And Malcolm was like, I fucking dare you. Like, so I was like, you do? And he's like, yeah. I was like, fuck you. And I wrote it. So the end of the flick, at the point where Parks gets up in Goodman's face and is yelling at him, it kept going where he said his piece, and he didn't do the quite shoot me in his face, but he's like, shoot me, and he says all that shit. And then boom, his chest exploded. Boom, their chests exploded. Everyone's chest started exploding. Yeah, ATF members' chests started exploding. The horns got even louder. John Goodman character, he's covering his head and his eyes because it's so preponderous, so fucking massive. He finally opens his eyes. Everyone around him is dead, and there's one of the last Cooper clan on the sword of a giant angel. And I wrote this before I started smoking weed. And then he pulls the sword out, and the dude drops, and the angel just looks at Keenan's character, John Goodman. John Goodman's shocked, and the angel just flies away. Goodman looks up in the sky, and the 4 horsemen are riding. So Malcolm was like, I dare you to make that movie. And then 2 years later, when I redrafted it, I was just like, you know what? I don't think we actually have to go that far. Let's have our cake and eat it too. Let's make it sound like the apocalypse, but then kind of play it out in the logical world, because the whole movie started playing very realistically, naturalistically. There was nothing that was that too far-fetched or anything. So it came from those two sources. It came from seeing Michael in From Dusk Till Dawn and seeing Malcolm's footage of this Phelps interview from a small town gay bar. So without these two guys, I wouldn't be standing here. Some critics are like, you should be mad at those guys. Fuck them. I love this movie. I loved working with everyone in it. I love telling the story, and I'm gonna love taking it to the people even more, man. Like any filmmaker will tell you, there's no better feeling than fucking showing your movie to a packed house and fucking talking about it afterwards and hearing people like it, not like it, all that stuff. You know, we don't do this shit in a vacuum. It's manufactured for use. We want people to say things about it, good or bad. It's fucking art. And the idea of kind of not just ending the movie, handing it off to somebody else, staying involved, keeping the life of the movie going by being there with it when it shows time and time again. You know, over the course of the year before we do a standard kind of theatrical release, I don't know, that's just, I love that. And it's the kind of thing where if we're successful at it, other people could do it too, you know? I'm not saying like we're gonna fucking break the studio distribution model. No, that will always exist. It's big business. But there has to be something for those of us who want to tell stories that don't have stories that warrant spending $20 million in marketing on. I tell, look at this movie. Why would you spend $20 million to market it? Like, it's gonna appeal to who it's gonna appeal to. So for me, I'm just like, let's not spend. Let's just stay involved with the movie and not spend on it and just keep quietly making our money back and stuff, and not play the big business game of like, let's fetishize the opening weekend because that's where it's all gonna happen. I don't need 3 days to make this movie work. I need a long time. So we're gonna take it out, show it all around the country and whatnot, and then finally come out traditionally later.
Show it in the Bible Belt?
Will we show on the Bible Belt? Yeah, I mean, some of our dates on the tour, which you can look at coopersdell.com is where the tour information is, and all the dates there. I think there's 1 or 2 in the South right now, but we'll do another tour after this tour is over if it's successful, if we could sell out those shows. Then we'll do another tour maybe 2 months after that, and I imagine that's when we'll start getting down into the heartland. But I'm not afraid. Like, a lot of people are like, you're gonna take this to the heartland? I'm like, yeah, I don't think anybody sees themselves represented in this film except fucking Phelps. And even him, he's like, even those people, they're like, well, that's not us, it's a horror movie. We gotta go, okay.
What kind of pricing do you anticipate
For tickets, when we do the theater tours, like Radio City Music Hall, this ticket scaling is anywhere from like 35 to 75 bucks, which is kind of what people are already paying to see me just stand up and talk anyway, do Q&A. So like, you know, all this year I've done about 25 shows. So now I'm coming out, you can play the same thing and see the movie and do the Q&A, and Parks is gonna come with us and sing. It's gonna be a good time. So check it out, coopersdell.com. Thank you so much for coming out. Thank you for having me. Michael,